This is the story of Abraham Lincoln's plan to win the peace after winning the war, his vision for national reconciliation and reunification. There had never been a civil war on that scale in the history of humanity, and America was the world's sole democracy. And Lincoln's essential insight was you couldn't really win the war if you didn't win the peace. You couldn't simply destroy your opponents and salt their fields like Rome did to Carthage. You had to find a way to bring people back together again and have fighting citizens find a way to live and work and reason together again. And to do that, he invented essentially a new form of leadership, focused on reconciliation. His prescription for peacemaking was unconditional surrender, followed by a magnanimous peace, secured with political reform to address the root causes of a conflict, economic expansion to move people towards an optimistic vision of a shared future, and cultural reintegration. These are principles and policies that were successfully applied by future generations who took direct inspiration from Abraham Lincoln. The moment where this book all came together for me was when I found a quote from General Lucius Clay, who was the general who was in charge of the occupation of Germany and the Marshall Plan after the Second World War. And a reporter asked him, "What guided your decisions during the German occupation?" And he said, "I tried to think of the occupation the South would have had if Abraham Lincoln had lived." So Abraham Lincoln was confronting a problem without precedent. How you win a peace after winning a war in a civil war. It requires empathy. It requires thinking long term and steering a nation towards a horizon of reconciliation, a place they can see and that can be motivated towards, not only by his words, which still endure, but also by the power of his personal example, and particularly in the last 6 weeks of his life, after the second inauguration. Lincoln, in his daily life, in his actions going to the front lines with his son Tad, visiting Union and Confederate soldiers alike in hospitals at the front lines, visiting the ruins of Richmond, all those actions in the last weeks of his life offers a portrait of a peacemaker that we can continue to learn from. And I think one of the things the book does is collects all his thoughts and beliefs about how you win the peace in one place, and then carries the idea forward, how it was implemented by other people at other ideas, other times in history. I think the lessons of Lincoln's life and his leadership style, focused on reconciliation, remain revelatory. And that's one of the places I think that we can look to him for renewed inspiration today, at a time we need it more than any time perhaps in the recent past.